had a creepy experience when I was 29. My friend Emily told me about her friend Jessica, who needed a dog sitter because she was going to California with her husband. Emily knew I was good at walking random dogs, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity. I agreed to her offer because I needed some cash. She was paying $200 to dog sit for 5 days. Jessica showed me around her house a week before I started sitting with her huge husky, Max. It was a huge husky, a bit overweight, but still adorable. Jessica told me I could enjoy whatever food I wanted in her house. The front had a lock where you had to punch in a code to get in, so the entire house was secure. The week rolled around, and I showed up late one day on a Friday night, not too long after Jessica and her husband had left for California. Things were smooth for the first days. I was working most of the afternoon. I would work in the afternoon, feed Max on my break, and return to Jessica's house at night. I took Max on a ride in my car when I returned from work. I watched movies late at night and let Max sleep on me until it was time for bed. I heard a knock at the front door after work on Monday night. I looked through the small hole in the door and saw a guy in a black police uniform. It was odd, but I opened the door to check what was up. The man said hello before saying he was looking for someone called Daniel. I told him there was no Daniel in that home and that I had been dog sitting for my friend since Friday. He asked me how long I would be there, and I said till Wednesday. He said it was cool and apologized for bothering me before leaving. I always wondered why the guy asked whether I was alone and when I would be leaving. I texted Jessica about the man, and she told me not to worry. I woke up late on Wednesday night to hear Max barking like crazy. His barking freaked me a little. I tried calming the dog down, but the barking got more aggressive. Fear gripped me, for I first thought someone had broken in. I walked to the living room to see Max growling and barking at the front door. I looked through the hole and saw the guy from earlier, with another guy standing there in a security guard uniform. I was terrified, wondering why the guy had returned with another person when he knew no one was around. I didn't open the door this time. I ensured the doors were all locked, and I didn't see any security car around when I checked from the window in the morning. I thanked Max because his barking scared them off. I didn't tell Jessica about the incident. I knew I was only spending one more night there. I was 16 at the time and lived with my single dad in an apartment. I was the only child, and my dad worked 2 jobs, so I was left home all alone when I was old enough to care for myself. I never felt scared of being alone because I lived in an apartment complex with lots of good people above and below me. On this day, my dad was working double shifts. He went back to his second shift after finishing his first shift at 2. The second shift started at 3 and ended at 11. It was summer, and I was out of school. I didn't have a car or anything, so all I could do was walk around or stay home. I spent the better part of the morning watching cable television before taking a short nap. I was starting to get hungry at around 6. There was not much in the house to eat, so I took some money off the counter and went out to buy some food at a grocery store. It was a 40-minute walk, but the weather was nice. I bought some frozen meal and started to walk back to the apartment. It was already dark, but the entire road to the house was well lit, and I wasn't in a dangerous area. Halfway back, I recognized the man walking behind me was taking precisely the same turns I was taking. I walked faster, but he seemed to follow me all the time. I was nervous, but thought it could be someone else who lived in our apartment. I got to the complex and went to my room. I knew the man trailing behind me couldn't get inside because he didn't have the key. I took out my frozen meal and heated it in the microwave. Minutes later, I heard a buzz from the room below me and another one above me. Someone was at the entrance door requesting to be let in. It was something common in our complex since some people would forget their keys and ring the entrance bell, hoping someone would be kind enough to open it for them. I heard the faint sound of the entrance door unlocking and opening. Someone let them in. I walked around and put my ear against the door. I heard a knock on one of the rooms downstairs. Someone answered, and it was challenging to listen to the exact words, although I heard someone mention my name. My heart was racing as I heard the door downstairs close and footsteps heading upstairs. They walked to my door and stopped. I backed out of the door when I heard a knock. They knocked again and could hear a man asking me to open, saying that my dad had sent him to check on me. I knew Dad wouldn't send a random guy to check on me. I became suspicious and moved to the opposite corner of the room, where I called the police. The man continued knocking and calling out my name. He even kicked the door at some point when I refused to open it. The knocking stopped, and police showed up some minutes later. The woman downstairs told the police that the man told her she was a babysitter and asked her which room I lived in. He said he knew my name, so she told him where I lived without getting suspicious. It's apparent he was trying to kidnap me. Unfortunately, the police didn't identify the man apart from the woman's description. Therefore, he was never found. It creeps me out thinking how the man knew my name and that my dad wasn't home. How long had he been stalking me? Was he still out there watching me? I'm a woman about 5 feet and 7 inches and weighing around 130 pounds. This incident occurred around 3 years ago when I was a student in my 20s. I was living in a pretty safe area. I was passionate about martial arts when I was growing up. I grew up in a small rural town, and I tried all the martial classes available there. I enjoyed martial arts because it helped me discipline my body and mind. It also boosted my confidence. However, it has been a few years since I moved away from the country's capital and to college. I somehow stopped practicing martial arts since my studies took most of my time. Back then, I lived with my younger brother on the first floor. Our complex was next to a military camp and a patch of woods that led to a stream. On the other end, there was a round metal ladder that went to the balcony and then to the front door. We always kept the door locked unless we were taking the car outside. We would unlock the door for my brother when he wanted to play with his friends. I went to college daily, and I had to walk around 25 minutes to get to the bus stop before riding for about an hour. I walked for another 15 minutes after alighting from the bus to get to campus. Finally, I would return home after classes were over. I repeatedly did this routine. I left the house around 10 in the morning and returned home at 10 at night. For a long time, I had a feeling there was a strange thing in the forest behind our apartment. It is as if I was being watched every time I passed near the forest, probably because it was pitch black when I returned home. I was in class one Wednesday afternoon with my friend. A professor had come to talk to us about an internship opportunity. Internships were uncommon in our country, so professors had to explain why they were valuable to students. My friend was interested. However, when the professor listed the requirements, my friend realized she couldn't qualify because her GPA was not high enough. She cried due to the disappointment and had to call her boyfriend to pick her up after class. I decided to keep her company until her boyfriend arrived. The three of us got into the car after her boyfriend arrived. We tried to comfort my friend and make her feel better. They decided to drop me off at my house before heading to their place. I arrived at my apartment about 6 in the evening, 4 hours earlier than the usual time I got home. I hugged my friend, said bye, and went to my place to change. I went through the front door, went upstairs, and put the key into my lock. I called out my brother's name as usual when I opened the door, but he didn't answer. The house was extremely dark and quiet. My instincts told me there was someone in there. I walked through the hallway that led to our bedrooms, and I saw my brother's door slam shut. I heard whispers coming from his room. I slowly walked through the dark hallway and checked my room before knocking on my brother's door. My room was in a complete mess. My mattress was off the bed, my clothes and books were scattered all over, and my jewelry box was empty and thrown on the bed. I could hear the whispers in my brother's room getting louder. I opened the door and saw the room, too, was in a mess. I rushed to the balcony after hearing something. I saw someone trying to jump off the balcony, and I screamed when I saw him stumble after jumping off the balcony. He ran away, and I immediately remember my laptop. I rushed into my room and checked for it, but it was gone already. I cried out in desperation. My brother arrived and calmed me down. He went into his bedroom after a while and noticed our laptops hidden in a pillow on his bed. I was relieved, although we still called the police. They only offered us a little help after recording a statement with them. I still feel nervous today when I see people hanging around my place or at the bus stop.